talk about our worst fears, the thing that you fear might happen, or when your worst fears actually come true, or like the thing that you lie awake at night worrying about. Let's talk about that, but in a fun way. We like to talk about things on a fun way on this podcast, but I think a lot of people who listen to this podcast have just a lot of responsibilities, a lot of things that they have struggled with in the past, continue to struggle with. I mean, I read all of your comments on the different platforms. I read your emails, and you guys have a lot going on, as do I. And I've been thinking about that now that we've had a worst case scenario play out in our lives, and now that it has come to my attention that I stress some people out. I stress some people out with the Norse saga that is my life, that it just, people look at me, especially people who have followed me for a while, and they're like, that's crazy. Like, I feel like I know Jen, and gosh, wow, like sometimes it is cancer. And gosh, if that can happen to her, like just living normal lives, minding their own business, and like if that can happen to her, maybe it can happen to me. And other situations where I'm like minding my own business, things happening out of the blue, like getting banned from a major institution, and doing nothing, just having a little bit of humor, just making some jokes, having some fun, and it being persecuted because of cancel culture, and then just doing nothing, and half your face gets paralyzed. Just just a minor cosmetic procedure, and then like you can't move half your face and you have to dress like a pirate all the time. I mean, these things happen to me, like getting dropped by my agent and my manager on the same day. And I don't think it has anything to do with some of the phone calls that I initiated that led up. I mean, crazy things happen to me. And so it has come to my attention that can stress out people who know me. And in fact, it came up recently, a few weeks ago. I was on Lino Ruli's radio show. He has a show on channel 129 on SiriusXM, RIP. The channel's still there. Everyone's fine. I'm just not there anymore. So RIP. And he was saying, when I was on his show, he was saying that, so I noticed that we hadn't been chatting as much, because sometimes we've kept in touch since we worked together, and every now and then just say what's up, complain about life, whatever. And he hadn't been in touch as much. And he actually said on the air, he said, well, I haven't been reaching out as much to see what's up, because now it's like when I think about your life, it reminds me of the fragility of the human existence and how things can go terribly wrong to the people you love most in the world. Like, I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he said. And I was like, okay, I bet other people feel that way too. So I thought, like, I'm sure there's something to be learned here that is beneficial to you guys as well, about how I have learned to manage anxiety in my own life. Now that I can no longer say, like, well, the worst probably won't happen. Can't really say that. That doesn't work anymore. And I think there's a part of all of us, especially those of us who are parents, who we've never been comfortable with that answer, because as a parent, one of your jobs is to know what worst case scenarios might be so that you can help your kids avoid them. So it just doesn't feel responsible to say, oh, that's a worst case scenario. Fingers crossed, hope it won't happen, and I'm going to move on. So, how have I been learning to manage anxiety, in a way that is realistic and feels responsible, but it doesn't consume me, not letting it consume me. So what I'm going to do is it's just a bullet pointed list of drugs and substances. That's the answer. So is it vodka or Pims and lemonade? I can't decide. Horse tranquilizers, So Caitlin's from the People with Real Problems Club. So Caitlin, she can jump in with some tips. So that is the main topic for today. As usual, we get to the main topic in the second half of the show. Someone left a comment the other day saying only on the Jen Fulwiler show is the second half of the show the last 10 minutes. No. Okay, look. Yes, sometimes the main topic is just in the last 10 minutes of the show. I never said it takes up the whole second half. I just said it's somewhere in that part, should you choose to fast forward. So that will be the main topic, and we will get to that. As usual, I'll give you an update on what's going on over here, just the latest things here at St. Jude's with Lane's health, other things going on. I have a really interesting update about my little kettlebell strength workout thing. Yes, strength workout thing that I have been doing. I have a really interesting update on that, and it has to do with goals and habits and things like that. And then there's also a lot of influencer nonsense. I'm very I'm very acutely aware of influencer nonsense now that I scroll social media in St. Jude's. In fact, I'll give you a preview now. I'm going to play this clip later when we talk about the main topic. But what kicked off this whole episode was I was sitting in the lobby of one of our doctors at St. Jude, and there were some kids in there who were, I'm sure they'll be fine. St. Jude's is a great place, but they were not in great shape. They were struggling a little bit. And while I'm just, my heart is so with these kids and these families, and I just, when I see things like that, I really try to just kind of sit with it for a moment. And even if it's just for a second, kind of journey with these parents and just be present with them, not in a weird way, like staring at them, like, don't need to be banned for any more institutions, but just, I don't know, just really say such a sincere prayer for them. So anyway, I had just done that. And then I opened social media and I encountered this influencer with ideas. This is how this guy recommends you handle just your anxiety and the things that stress you out in life.
Do something called like the calendar trick. So like if you think about like if something bad happens to you right now,
oh God, okay,
in 30 days from today, you've either fixed it, you did something better, or you just don't care anymore because time heals all wounds. And so what I'll do is if something.
So just imagine this popping up on your feed in the St. Jude's Children's Cancer Hospital. I'll play this clip again. I'm just getting started on that clip. So we'll circle back to that one. So yeah, influencers are back at it. I have a lot to say on that. And I think this ties in nicely with on the live chat that I did. I thought, Caitlin, don't you think that Lane did such a great job? There was a live chat from last week. I thought she did such a great job just talking about how she has handled her whole life being upended, her world turning upside down. I mean, wasn't that, I know you're kind of obliged to say this, but it was amazing, right?
I'm not obliged. It was absolutely amazing to see her out there just being herself and especially in her situation. I mean, she was amazing.
Yeah. And she put on makeup and everything. I was such a proud mom. I thought it was so great. And, here's the other thing about Lane. She is so mentally tough. It's like, as I watch Lane go through life and a tough cancer diagnosis, and for new listeners, like, I know all cancer is tough, but this one's extra tough. As I watch her, like, she had to leave college. She was a thriving sophomore, doing really well. Now she's at St. Jude's. It's as I watch her go through this, my tolerance for influencer nonsense is it just goes way down. I mean, she's so tough. Like, someone just asked, and I couldn't. It's a long story, but I couldn't see who asked. And it's fine, but someone asked, was like, what is the life expectancy for someone with this kind of diagnosis? Do you remember that?
Yes, I was like, why?
Yeah. But I know, but that's the thing. Look, when I do these live chats, I said you can ask me anything. And I really mean it. It doesn't mean we'll answer anything. But I did. I brought it up with Lane because she's tough and we talk about it. And and we went into some of the details of, Larry, the cancer and what's going on there. And people ask things like, how has your relationship with your mom changed? And I actually went to there was something I wanted to show you guys, this bag that I'm in love with and I think everyone needs to have. So I'm off, digging in my bedroom in this apartment. Lane's just holding her own, holding forth, giving wisdom. Anyway, it was just such a proud mom moment. Oh, and I forgot. She had gotten chemo that day. Caitlin, where else are they going to find content like this? I mean, this is insane. Like, she literally, 19-year-old girl, got chemo that day and is spitting wisdom here in the fine Jen Fulwiler Show studio. I mean, truly incredible. So you can watch that anytime. It is the replay is on the Patreon. If you join at any level, you get instant access to that and all the archives. And it is from April. The replay was published April 16th, 2026. So if you're listening to this way in the future or whatever, join the Patreon. You get instant access to everything. And just scroll back to April 16th, 2026. It was an hour-long live chat. And I will warn you, just go ahead and start 12 minutes in. That's when Lane comes on. And you guys got to see the behind the scenes on that one of how it always goes with this podcast, where we're setting things that can't get the lighting right, can't get the mic right. But this happened live because I had to be present at a very certain time because it was a live chat. So that was ridiculous. You see 12 minutes of me just trying to figure things out. But 12 minutes in, it gets really good, I'm telling you. So that is patreon.com/thisisjen. You can sign up, get all of the bonus content that I do over there, and you can find that live chat with Lane, and you can see why I am such a proud mom. So we have so much good stuff here on this episode today. This is the Jen Fulwiler Show. I am your host, Jen. I am a best-selling author, stand-up comic, and mom of 6 who is currently helping my 19-year-old daughter, Lane, battle medulloblastoma, brain cancer. We are living in Memphis, but Lane lives in Memphis full-time. I am out here about half the time. So this studio that you see here is this is my Memphis studio. This is the podcast where you learn the art of the village hustle. That's being a hot girl boss, or hot boy boss, who knows that love, faith, family, and community are the foundations of all real success. Influencers. As I said, we normally come to you from Austin, Texas, but half the time now we are in Memphis, Tennessee at St. Jude's. And St. Jude's is in no way affiliated with this podcast. I want to get that out there very, very, very quickly. St. Jude's is not affiliated with this podcast. I'm just located here. And Caitlin White is our lovely producer. Say hi, Caitlin.
Hi, everybody.
And the reason, for those of you listening on audio only, this is if you're wondering why you don't hear Caitlin consistently, if you've never looked up the video and you only listen on audio, it's because we have a space-age system that we use to bring Caitlin in. This is because this is my $80,000 studio. Money is no object at my level of success. I was just throwing cash around. I had a team of artisans put together this studio, and this is the same technology that NASA used to communicate with the Artemis astronauts. Very high tech. And so if you wonder, like, why can't I hear Caitlin very well? It's just because it's too space aged. It's too space aged. The satellite technology we use is, sometimes imperfect. And anyway, this podcast is available on, I don't know, wherever you follow your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, whatever. It's wherever you like to follow podcasts. Here we are. Okay, so let's jump into every week. I try to start with giving you guys an update of what's new, where we are in the saga. So I'm still in Memphis. My mom and I have been doing a month on and a month off. So I'll be back in Austin pretty soon here. And let's see, Lane's doing as well as can be expected. St. Jude's is taking such good care of us. It's absolutely incredible. She is in the middle of cycle 3 of chemo, and we are on the high risk protocol. So that particular protocol does 7 cycles of chemo, and each cycle is about a month, give or take. So we are about halfway through cycle 3 of 7. And all of this, of course, takes place at St. Jude. And so my mom will come up here pretty soon, and then I will go back home. And so the latest development actually does not directly have to do with Lane, who, again, is just such a champ and is hanging in there like such a pro. I mean, honestly, you know what? Tangent, wait, where's my, here? Lane actually brought these out here to make sure that I had them for the episode. Lane, like, why is it that the people who should be influencers are not? Like, whose advice people need to be taking is Lane's. Like, not these guys, like, either they have no kids or they're not raising their own kids and they're just, like, sitting around on Instagram. Okay, I need to not go fully on that tangent, but, like, Lane should be an influencer. You want to talk about mental toughness? Stop. I mean, she is, like, the queen of it. So anyway, she's doing surprisingly well, especially mentally. And she's still recovering from brain surgery, can't walk on her own, stuff like that. But, I mean, who needs to walk, really? So it's like, I wish I had a wheelchair. Okay, so the latest development is that you guys might recall that I have a daughter named Pammy. She is my youngest daughter. So in the birth order, Lane is number 2. Lane is the oldest daughter, second child. And then Pammy is number 5 of 6, and she's the youngest daughter. Pammy is the one who I have mentioned before. I did not really believe that I was going to survive her toddlerhood. I mean, it was just like chaos for the sake of chaos. The story I always tell that tells you everything you need to know about her. I turned my back for just a second one time. She'd gotten a Sharpie. She drew all over the walls our white couch. There was just Sharpie all along the couch. And then there was the baby, her baby brother was in his bassinet. And then the Sharpie continues along the wall. I mean, you can see where she walked. But then I took a closer look at the baby. The Sharpie went right across his forehead as she didn't miss the baby. So this squiggly dark line going across his forehead. And then when I tried to take the Sharpie away from her, she acted like she was losing an appendage of her body, just like screaming her head off. And that was a normal hour. That was a very typical hour, and it wasn't even like when my husband got home from work that day, I probably didn't even think to mention that because just so many other things happened that day. And kind of a funny tangent that is kind of funny. I own so many DVDs of Shaun the Sheep because Netflix had Shaun the Sheep, and it was the only thing that calmed that crazy toddler down, is she liked to watch Shaun the Sheep, and Netflix took it off of their streaming, and at the time, she was born in 2011. So there weren't quite the streaming options that we had today, and I couldn't find it anywhere. And so I went to my blog and I wrote this letter to Netflix that went viral. It was essentially saying, like, how can you do this to me? You cannot take away children's shows without massive warning. Like, this should be against the law. This should be punishable by severe imprisonment. And, but I remember when I was trying to, she was this, adorable, cute little 3-year-old. And after Shaun the Sheep was gone, they did have Timmy Time, which was also a sheep. It was made by the same creators. He looked he's also a sheep. So you would think, same vibe. This will be fine. And so I put Pammy on my lap and I said, look, we don't have Shaun the sheep, but it's Timmy. And she got off my lap, toddled over to the TV and punched Timmy in the face. She punched our TV. After I was like, look at the little sheep, look at it's Timmy time. Bam, punches Timmy in the face. So that is Pamela Scholastica Fulwiler. That is her full name, Pamela Scholastica Fulwiler. And so the reason I have a lot of Shaun the Sheep DVDs is my wonderful fans sent me Shaun the Sheep DVDs after they heard about that. We're like, we have to help this woman. We have to help her. So I often bring that up because I want to give encouragement to those of you who have crazy toddlers. Pammy has grown up to be such a delightful young woman. She turns 15 soon, and she is just so self-possessed and lovely and just good with people. She's very, very extroverted and just a delightful young woman. And so I always like to share that for those of you who have a toddler who you're like, I don't know if this isn't, I don't know if I can do this. And like, cause someone said to me when Pammy was a toddler, this very holy and devout, good, lovely Catholic woman at church said to me affectionately, just a calm woman. She was like, oh, honey, it sounds like you've got yourself a saint maker. I was like, that's not the direction this is going. So if you have a quote unquote saint maker child, they tend to turn out really well. They tend to turn out she's lovely. But there are some ways in which we do see that former version of her. It's not like you're like, oh, I can't believe that was the same toddler. Every now and then you see it. So this is how we saw it. And we were actually talking about this with Leanne on the live chat a few days ago as well. That, so I met with our oncologist, our pediatric oncologist here at St. Jude he is the reason that we picked up our lives and moved from Austin, Texas to Memphis, Tennessee. This man is the world's leader on fighting this particular type of cancer. He is a genius. He's, a kind man, but he is doing some absolute cutting edge things that have massive implication, not just for medulloblastoma, but then could potentially have impacts on other types of cancer. So let's call him Dr. G. So Dr. G, he's amazing. And he is very well known and highly respected and very important in the cancer world. Even like when we were back at MD Anderson in Houston, our doctors there, they were not pediatric cancer guys. And I've since found that it's two kind of different worlds, pediatric versus adult cancer. But when I mentioned to them that we had an opportunity to work with Dr. G, they were like, oh, whoa. They had heard of him, even though they're not in the same cancer circles. They were like, wow, okay, he's amazing. So this is very, very, very important man. He's, you know what this guy's doing all day? He's curing cancer. He's literally curing cancer. So we meet with him pretty much every week. He walks in for our meeting just the other day, and he looks at me and he says, your daughter Pamela she's on me. I forget what he said, but he was like, your daughter Pamela, she's got me. I'm hearing from her. And I was like, what? I wasn't even sure if he knew that Leanne had siblings. I'm like, how does he know Pammy's? What? It turns out, and we have not figured out how, Pammy found his email address. I assumed when he was saying this that Leanne must have given Pammy her doctor's email, but she didn't. So we're not sure how Pammy found his email address, but Pammy has a project at school where she needs to interview servant leaders. She goes to a wonderful, wonderful Catholic school, and so they do lots of, servant leader type thing. So she is doing a project on servant leaders, and I guess there's a St. Jude's connection there. So she just finds his email somehow, emails this world famous oncologist and is like, I'd like to do a 15-minute Zoom call with you for my presentation on servant leaders. And evidently when he didn't reply fast enough, she followed up and was like, just wanted to get back to you about that 15-minute Zoom call. Let me pause. Let me pause on this for a second. For those of you who sometimes feel hesitant to reach out to people, you're like, I don't know, should I follow up? Could I ever reach out to that person and ask them? Take the Pamela Scholastica model of living and just do it. Just do it. Just like if you need something from someone, don't let it ever occur to you that, I don't know, that maybe they might be busy. They might not be able to reply. Reach out. Don't take no for an answer. Doesn't matter if they're trying to cure cancer. Just do it. Just get it out there. So meanwhile, as you guys know from last week's episode, Dr. G had gotten called in for jury duty, which caused me to have a total meltdown. I almost ended up in jail over that one. You can't put our oncologist on a jury. Like the civil disobedience I would have caused. So he was saying that he was in court. The judge and the attorneys are telling everyone this was a serious part of the jury part. He didn't end up on the jury, but it was a serious part of the inquiry. And so they said, we'll give you guys a few seconds, but you have to turn off your phone completely. And he said he had time to send one quick email before he had to turn off his phone in the court. Do you know who he sent it to? Pammy, because she was so on top of this Zoom call. I mean, the man is literally out there trying to cure cancer. Like, I'm sure there are other people who are like, hey, do you think if we use this vascular model, we might be able to beat cancer? And he's like, I've got Pamela Scholastica on the line. I've got to get back to her. And I told him, I told her, I said, Pammy, hey, listen, I could probably find some great administrators at St. Jude's, and I bet they're servant leaders also. And I could maybe put you in touch with one of them. And she's like, no, I'll talk to Dr. G. It'll be fine. And so I told Dr. G, I said, it is totally fine for you to say no. I hope you know that. Like, we don't, we didn't know how this came about, but I didn't put her up to this. And if you do not have time for this, I totally understand. What I didn't say is like, she's still going to get that Zoom call. Because I've told you this about Pammy, and Caitlin knows, our daughters are very close friends. If my daughter, Pammy, asks you for something or wants you to do something, it is time out of your life that you can never get back trying to say no. And I know people are like, well, it sounds like you need to be a stronger parent. I have 5 other kids and I was a strong parent with them and they learned how to take no for an answer. She doesn't have that part of her brain. The no is not going to stand. You think you're saying no to her, but you are not. You're not. She is going to get, whatever she has her mindset on. And so, I didn't mention that to Dr. G, but I was like, I mean, I hope you can say no. And I was thinking, I mean, it doesn't matter. She'll get the interview anyway. But he smiled. He is a wonderful, just incredible man. And he was like, no, it's fine. I'm happy to do the call with her. But yeah, so if the cure for cancer is a little delayed by a couple days or so, just know that Pammy crushed it on her servant leadership project. Just calling oncologists and telling them that they need to do 15-minute Zoom calls with her. She's a freshman in high school. So I think we're all going to be working for her one day. So I just kind of try to stay on her good side so that like when I'm an employee of hers 15 years from now, maybe she'll treat me kindly. So that's the main thing that is new over here. Our oncologist running around at jury duty and doing Zoom calls with my 15-year-old daughter. So, okay. So the next thing on the list is I have a very interesting update for you about my whole strength kettlebell thing. I think you guys will find this very interesting. So this is really interesting. Now here's the backstory for those of you guys who missed the previous episode where I was talking about doing kettlebell stuff. I forget which one it was, but it was one of the past few, like maybe 2 or 3 back from this one. So the short version is that seeing how much my 80-year-old mother has helped us and just how much endless energy she has and how great she's doing as an 80-year-old and what an absolutely profound gift that is to our family. I've just been thinking a lot about how I want to be that for the next generation. I want to be that for my kids and grandkids as they go on in life. And there are an overwhelming amount of really interesting studies about how it's all strength. As you age, so many things. I mean, everything from mental clarity to obviously physical stamina, but the strongest correlating factor for just being vibrant and healthy as you go on in life is strength. So even though I have more, like, left to my own devices, I have more of like a Jabba the Hutt lifestyle. I have come to see that strength actually matters, and I need to do something about it, even if I don't care from like a vanity perspective. If I want to be able to, be like my mom has been for us, then I need strength. Meanwhile, you know what? You guys need to just listen to that episode. I think it was episode. Oh, I know it was episode 291. So you guys can look that up. It's just a few episodes back, episode 291. Just listen to that whole thing because it was really interesting. The part about this guy Pavel's ideas about the kind of lack of importance of these cram sessions for working out. We have this American idea that if I'm going to work out, I'd better go have a cram session at the gym where I go down to the gym and I just kill myself for a full hour and then I go back to my Jabba the Hutt lifestyle for the rest of the day. And what he talks about in the episode that I quoted there, it's when he was on Andrew Huberman's podcast, he talks about more of the farmer style of strength building. Those are my words, not his. But basically, as you just go through your day, you're just lifting heavy things. So, and it's not you're not changing clothes. You're not putting on your 1980s sweatband and your leg warmers and playing some synth music as you work out for a whole hour. You're just sporadically lifting heavy things throughout the day. And he had a lot of interesting data that has just as good results, in fact, if not better, than cram session workouts. Okay, so now we get to the new update. So as of episode 291, I was shocked to find that I am doing many, like somewhere between 50 and 100 kettlebell swings every day for me, a heavy kettlebell. I shouldn't even say what the weight is, you guys. But for me, it's heavy. And I've been doing it. I keep up with it all the time. And I am not a person who ever does anything exercise related unless I have like an appointment with someone. I mean, I don't want to flake on people, so it has worked for me back home. I worked out with my friend Dana, but in general, left to my own devices, I would never exert myself in any way. I mean, you guys know me being here in Memphis. It's like the biggest deal in the world to me that I don't have people to do chores and help out with all this household stuff I do. So I'm not a physical exertion person, and yet I'm doing kettlebell swings just very regularly. I've hardly missed any days, and I'm doing a fair number, again, minimum 50. So that's incredible. That's a major breakthrough for me. And by the way, I showed you guys so the kettlebell, you can click through to the link in the show notes to see the YouTube video if you're listening on audio, but you can see this kettlebell I'm holding up right now. It is made of sand. See, I'm here for the audio listeners. I'll tap on it. You can kind of feel that it's soft. And look, I'm going to drop it right now. Listen, it's not going to make a huge noise. That was the sound of me dropping a kettlebell a couple of feet. I love it that it's sand, so that I don't feel like I'm about to be massively injured if I don't hold this thing correctly. Okay, so I'd been keeping up with it. So then a couple weeks ago, I thought, I'll take this to the next level. You know what I'll do? I'll just have a little tracking system so that I can make sure that I do enough sets each day. Because as it was, I was roughly remembering about how many sets I'd done, just kind of in the back of my mind, but my life's crazy. And so it is very easy for me to just not, it's like, so far today, have I done 3 sets or 4 sets, or was it all a fever dream? Like, it's hard to keep up with. So I did. Again, you can pull up the YouTube or Spotify video anytime, totally free, if you want to see the visuals I'm holding up here. So I went to our little downstairs to our little St. Jude's parents' office, and I printed out a little workout tracker sheet that I designed myself. Here, Caitlin, I'll hold it up so that you can see. Isn't that cute?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, see, that's cute.
That's nice.
Yeah. And it just has little circles that you can check when you've done a workout. And I went to Walmart and I got a little frame, and it's a glass frame. It's a glass so that I can use a dry erase marker and check when I've done a set, and then it wipes off nice and easy. So that's why it's framed. So here's what's interesting. For the first time in over a month, I stopped being consistent. When I put this tracker up, suddenly I wasn't doing it. Isn't that interesting? And so I put away the frame. I stopped tracking it, and I went back to what I was talking about in that previous episode. I went back to just seeing it as, again, farmer style. Like, this is just a part of life. This isn't exercise. It's just something I do. I was saying in that episode, and I've continued to do it, I imagine that I have to swing this kettlebell, like, in order to get the dishwasher to start. Or like if I'm about to take a shower, I imagine that it's like to pump the water, to get the water going, I have to swing this kettlebell or whatever. And I just play little mental games like that I imagine that there's some connection to the things I need to do in my day to this kettlebell. And what's interesting about that is that the reminder there was just seeing the physical object. To have this big kettlebell sitting around, it's just, oh yeah, I need to, my cave woman brain just had a very simple thought process. And in fact, it was so simple, you could almost say, like, no thoughts. It's like, see heavy thing, need to lift it. No thoughts beyond that. See heavy thing, need to lift it. Again, there's no changing clothes or anything like that. I'm just doing one set. You don't even have to put on shoes. I usually don't have shoes when I do it. Now, what's interesting is once I introduced the tracker, suddenly there's a lot more thoughts going on. It's like, oh gosh, I'm behind. I haven't done it today. And just physically, like, I'm looking at the tracker. I'm not in cave woman, lift heavy thing mode. Suddenly I'm looking at the tracker, and having that tracker has taken me from very, very simple, almost animalistic cave woman lift heavy thing to make water run, mode, to suddenly I'm evaluating myself. Have I done a good job? I should have done more. I should have. Now we're in the world of should have and theoretical. And you see how it takes me out of that very simple cave woman mindset. And suddenly I'm an intellectual. Suddenly I'm thinking about all this stuff. And the other thing is it introduces emotion. I think probably every single one of us listening to this podcast, especially women, I think we all have some past hard feelings about this area of life, whether it's the way you look, if you're unhappy with your weight, or if you've been unhappy with your weight, a feeling of disappointment in yourself, whether it's current or in the past. I think we've all got some baggage there. Just those old feelings of, oh, I hate the way these jeans are fitting. I hate the rolls, my jeans. I hate this, but I'm not doing enough. I should do more. And, and this is why that kid called me fat in 7th grade. This is why, because I don't do this thing. And look, I only have 2 check marks today and it's already 5 p.m. Notice how suddenly we're not only thinking, but there is a lot of self-criticism, self-evaluation, and negative emotion, because now we're in that big brain world of atomic habits, of tracking progress, and of evaluating yourself. Like, because if I don't, I've got 5 dots there for a certain number of sets I'm supposed to do. And if I only do 4 one day, it's like, well, wow, didn't measure up today. And then also I'm disincentivized to do more. I think there have been plenty of days that I did, when I was in cavewoman mode, that I did 8, 9, or even 10 sets of, I do 12 swings in a set. And I think there are plenty of days that I might have done 10 because it was just this simple, see heavy thing, need to lift it, do it. And because it was so easy, it was just kind of as easy to do it as to not do it. And so I would just do it. But now, once I check my 5 circles, big brain intellectual, side of your brain is like, well, why would I do more? I've done enough. So I want you guys to think about this. If anyone else is trying to do stuff like this, again, listen to episode, what did I say it was? It was
291.
Yeah, episode 291. Just listen to that, or listen to Pavel. He has some Russian last name, guys. I don't know. Pavel something. On Andrew Huberman. If you search YouTube for Pavel and Andrew Huberman, it'll come up. But I really recommend going caveman, cavewoman mode for any kind of exercise sort of habit that you're trying to do, and just try to do it without any tracking. Again, I'd have a loose number in my mind, like when it was working in when I'm being consistent, I have a loose number, like I'd like to do 5 sets per day, but I don't stick to it super strictly. I do just kind of keep the kettlebell around so that I see it. So if I go swing it before I start the dishwasher, I might just leave it there on the floor so that I walk by it. And then when I go back to, like, I don't know, the endless toil that as I Cinderella around this house, where is my butler? Where are my 10 staff members? As I'm going back in to clean up more dishes or something. Oh, there's heavy object, must lift it to get the dishwasher soap going or whatever. And again, pretending like I have to lift this heavy thing in order to do what I need to do. And when you think about it, I mean, throughout human history, this is how people got strong. I mean, my great-great-grandmother, who would do her washing outside with a big, heavy tub of water, that was heavy to pick that up and dump it out. And she wasn't like, oh, I met my habit. I've been consistent with my goals this week, dumping out 3 things of water. No, it was just, that's just what you got to do. You got to dump out the water after you wash the clothes. So the closer you can get to that, just zero thinking, zero emotion, cavewoman, lift heavy thing, and not thinking too much about it, I think the more you will keep up with it. And again, having it being something that is throughout your day rather than one cram session that you have to schedule your whole day around, and you're changing clothes and you're, doing your shower afterwards and all that. I think it is, for those of us living village lives, for those of us who have kind of overwhelming lives, I think this is the most realistic way. So basically, in summary, even if that cram session model were to be the ideal one, is that even something that people like us can do who have a lot going on? I mean, that it's just, I think it's just not realistic. So I wanted to share that. Try that. Try doing the just pick up heavy thing and think nothing about it. But don't get the app out. Don't get a tracker out. Go cavewoman mode. Very inclusive podcast here. And just see if that doesn't help you get it done, to have zero thinking and zero emotion. All right. Now, hit the perfect transition sound effect, I guess. I'm talking to myself since I do the sound effects when I'm in Memphis. This is actually a perfect segue that, as I was talking about that with just the kettlebell and habits and stuff, we had to pause it because Leanne texted me about a symptom she's having, and it just, any symptoms when you're dealing with someone battling cancer on chemo can be serious. So I was like, all right, hang on, we're pausing it. And I just read to make sure that I didn't need to call right now, and because that could very well happen. That you get half a podcast this week because I have to take Lane to the St. Jude's ER, and it turns out I think it's fine. I'm going to look at these symptoms later. But that brings us to the next influencer's advice that I found. This was the next topic I was going to hit anyway, and it's perfect. This is from account at Do Better Jonathan on Instagram, and here's his rule. And he seems nice. I know he's trying to help. I mean, I appreciate him putting this content out there. I really do. But I have heard a lot of people say what he is about to say here with a pretty condescending attitude and a sort of, if your house is a mess, it's just because you're not doing this very simple thing. So he seems like a nice guy. I'm not trying to pick on him specifically. I kind of am with the influencer later, but this guy seems nice. Again, Do Better Jonathan on Instagram. But here is the secret that Instagram keeps putting this in my algorithm for what you're supposed to be doing to keep your house clean.
You know the rule, never leave the room empty-handed. All right, the dishwasher's full. If it takes less than 2 minutes, let's just empty it. Nice, awesome job. We got some more on the counter. When we see the mess, we clean the mess. Sweet, keep it going. We don't put it down, we put it away. Let's go, we got this. Okay,
there was no video because my producer is not here in person. And so I have to set this all up myself. But you heard it. In fact, I'll play it again so that you can listen to it again. And I think this time you'll be able to see it.
You know the rule, never leave the room empty-handed. All right, the dishwasher's full. If it takes less than 2 minutes, let's just empty it. Nice, awesome job. We got some more on the counter. When we see the mess, we clean the mess. Sweet, keep it going. We don't put it down, we put it away. Let's go, we got this.
So this advice is very much out there as, this is an easy thing to do. You make a rule, and there's just a rule. There is a rule. You don't leave the room without picking up something and taking something out of the room. It sounds simple, doesn't it, Kate? It sounds simple.
Sounds simple, but it's really not.
It's really not. And again, this guy seems sweet, but I've seen a couple of influencers who didn't, who are just like, it's not hard, ladies. Your house does not need to be a mess. You just have these rules. These are rules for yourselves. You talk to yourself like you're an idiot all the time, and you say, I have rules. I have rules that I have to follow because I talk to myself like I'm in first grade, and the rule is that I have to do this and I have to put this glass away before. Listen. All of that takes mental energy. And that's why that me having to pause this and like read the text from Lane and everything, it's like we have a lot on our minds. Those of us who are trying to live a village life where we are deeply connected to other people and we worry about other people. And we're trying to make our lives better and help the people we love have better lives. And it's like we are up in our heads thinking about stuff. And when you have stuff on your mind and you are trying to figure things out and you are trying to solve problems, or frankly, if you're just kind of a cerebral type person, you're thinking about things a lot. You're like wondering, how did this and that work with the Artemis space shuttle, whatever. You're walking around thinking about philosophy or whatever. You don't have the extra mental energy to remember all of your little rules for yourself that you're supposed to be doing. And you might have less energy to engage with the physical aspect of your house. There's a reason there's the stereotype of the absent-minded professor. We think of the absent-minded professor as like, does the absent-minded professor have a tidy office? No. My husband has a lawyer friend of his. This guy has so many degrees. It's honestly crazy. I mean, he's like a lawyer and an MBA and a PhD. He just got his locksmith certification not that long ago, because like, why not? And he has all sorts of real estate accreditations. The guy is an actual genius. And I've seen his office and it was messy because he's thinking about just high level things, trying to work out problems and things like that. Evidently there's a picture of Einstein's desk after he passed away, and it was messy. He was not following his atomic habits. He was, coming up with theories about atomic, motion or whatever. But he didn't have a rule for himself. I can't imagine where science would be if all of our great thinkers and scientists, or like my oncologist, if he's like, I have a rule for myself that I can't leave my office unless I take 2 things with me to put. It's like, no, please just think about cancer. Please just, and getting on the Zoom with Pammy, actually. Zoom with Pammy first, cancer second. Imagine where civilization would be. Like, there would be no Artemis 2 mission. We wouldn't have a space program. Like, if everyone followed these rules and was like messing around with the pots and pans and cups that are right in front of them all the time, like we wouldn't have iPhones. We wouldn't have this fine podcast and its incredible sound effects. I mean, all of human progress came from people who were like thinking big thoughts and working out big problems. So all this is to say, the reason I bring this up is I know that you guys feel worn down a lot. Especially those of you guys, you've got a lot going on. You've got a lot of problems. You're trying to raise kids, or for those of you who are single, like trying to, keep up with your job and manage the crazy dating world and all that. And you get exposed to this content that makes you feel like, well, it's kind of your fault because you should be doing more. I mean, it's so easy. It's so easy to have a rule about just do this while it's right in front of you. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing to do. If you can do that, then sure, do it. And I do think some people are more wired to be a little more connected with the physical world than the rest of us. And I think that's like their blue flame. In fact, somebody on the Patreon was saying, I think she was saying she was in Memphis. She was saying that cleaning and things like that is her blue flame. And I don't know if she was offering to help, but email Caitlin if you were, because it's not my blue flame. But, there are definitely some people, and I have friends like this, that is their brain's wiring, that they have a natural connection to just the objects around them, the physical world. And it doesn't seem to take them as much mental energy to do these things that seem very simple to them. Like they don't have to have a rule that they take 2 things out of a room every time. It's like they just kind of do it naturally. Now, for some of us who do not think in the right way, and are deeply neurodivergent and troubled people, it's like, you don't understand. Telling me to take two things out of a room every time I leave a room, you do not understand the mental cycles that would go into that and how little mental energy I have for that. Because it would be like, well, should I take this pen out of the room? Well, technically that pen came from the kitchen, but you know who gave me that pen? Man, I hate her. Why did she ghost me? And I mean, it would just be this whole, it would be like you could write a Game of Thrones style epic saga 12-season show about the things that go through my mind when I'm trying to decide which thing to take out of the room to put somewhere. So this triggers a memory, and who gave that to me? Well, you could make the case that it should be in this room, but maybe the kitchen would be a better place for it. But actually, I mean, the bedroom could also be a different place for it, but maybe it should be here. You guys, there's not enough time in the day for me to make these rules for myself and try to do them. So the reason I bring this up is because there is an epidemic on social media of people who have one type of brain wiring, thinking that everyone's brain is wired like theirs. So if it's easy for them, it must be easy for everyone. And therefore, people who aren't doing this must just be lazy or morally inferior. And again, this guy in this video didn't seem to be. I don't think he was trying to say that. But I have seen some influencers who have. And it's funny, they have made me closest to getting a burner account. I don't have one yet. But man, a couple more videos shaming women, shaming my women. I'm sure some of my fans have seen this crap, shaming my women and telling them, implying or outright saying that they're just being lazy if they don't have the same habits that these people do. It just, that's going to be what pushes me over the edge to get a burner. And then one day I'll be logged into the wrong account. I'll be on like my own verified account, just saying the most unhinged things. So if that ever happens, if you're ever scrolling social media and you see that I left a comment on a post and it's like unhinged, just know I did start the burner, but I forgot which account I was logged into for this one. So I wanted to give you that reminder. Next time you feel bad because someone on social media is saying that something is easy and therefore you're just like morally deficient or lazy if you're not doing it, they just don't understand how the world works. They don't understand that some people are wired differently and that the amount of mental energy it would take for you to do this thing that is very simple for them is not, it might not be the same. So don't let these people shame you or make you feel bad. They don't understand how people are and how the world works. Okay, now on to the main topic. Again, second half of the show. I didn't say it was the whole second half. I just said it occurs, but past the halfway point of the show. Main topic. All right, we're finally at the main topic sound effect. Okay. How should we handle anxiety? Especially if I've been causing you anxiety. Actually, I have a funny clip from that. So the episode that I was on with Lino Rulli it is the only time someone else has interviewed me about the cancer situation. And he went into the whole, like, what was that day like, the backstory, things like that. But he didn't put it on there's a free podcast that he has that SiriusXM will let you choose like your best segments from the week and put them on a free podcast that everyone can access. Caitlin had to do something. Okay. Well, Caitlin, when you come back, my segment with Lino Rulli did not make the cut. My friend whose show that I was on, he didn't put this deeply meaningful interview on his free podcast so that I could share it with you guys. Because I guess he had a lot more important things to cover that week. So anyway, but I got this one clip that I thought was really funny because we were colleagues for a long time. And so he knows how I operate. And I thought that you guys would find this funny, that when I said that I wasn't all up in the doctor's business about the brain surgery when Lane was first diagnosed, he found that surprising because I think he finds me to be a bit of, like, one doesn't want to say know-it-all, but well, just listen to the clip. No, not get too involved because I wasn't sure how much value I would add to the neurosurgery process. You know what was?
That doesn't sound
funny,
like you.
No. Oh no! When it comes to brain surgery, there are actually limits to my confidence, and I really didn't feel like I knew about that.
Weird,
but okay. So that's. That I don't know where he gets that. What a crazy idea. But that was the episode where he was saying that just my whole situation added stress to him. Just as a friend, he's like, well, wait, can this sort of terrible thing happen to anyone? Like, so for anyone else who has had that reaction, I've just been thinking about my newfound take on how to handle those moments we have, like when you're lying awake at night thinking, you know, what if this bad thing happens to someone I care about? So the typical advice you would get, this is one of the influencer things that I also saw this one while sitting at St. Jude. So this is from rough.housing_. So this is some advice, and this is very common, what you hear about how you should handle anxiety and just, when you have that, like what if moment at 3:00 in the morning. The standard advice that you will hear is this.
Dad has not stopped talking about this since he heard it, and I hate to admit it, but it's actually pretty true. Dad, give him the 85% theory.
Kettle University has a study. The things you worry about, stress about, and have anxiety about, 85% of the time, it doesn't happen. And about 13% of the time, a better outcome will happen. So about maybe 2% of what you stress about will actually happen in life, and that's pretty minimal. So
unfortunately, this thing came true too many times. Hold on, you gotta walk over here.
All right.
Into the frame.
This is being taped?
Yeah.
All right, so this is a guy talking to his dad. Caitlin, have you heard this? Like the 80% of things that you stress about won't come to pass. Have you heard that statistic?
Yeah, I've heard that.
Does it, as a parent, how much, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much comfort has that age-old wisdom brought you?
I haven't been able to apply it very well, but I try.
Yeah. So, because here's the thing. As parents, and I bring in parenthood because I think it's easy to be blasé about our own lives. I mean, obviously, with some of the life choices I've made, I will. This Botox clinic, the Groupon says that it's a great place. I'll just give it a shot. I'm sure it's 50% off because people love it so much, and that'll be fine. Like, it's easy to be blasé about your own life, but when it comes to your children's lives, suddenly it's like, oh wait, no, I actually care about getting this right. And I think the reason that the 80% of things don't, end up happening is like, yeah, but I need to protect my kids from worst case scenario situations. Like, they're unlikely to be kidnapped, but there's so much downside if it happens that I do kind of need to think about this and just like be aware that this is a reality. And I would make the case it almost wouldn't be responsible to say that, well, whatever, I'm just going to dismiss that thought of my kids being kidnapped because it's so unlikely to happen. No, you're like, just make sure you're doing some basic best practices for stuff like that. So that's why that advice doesn't work. And then we have this man. I'd love to live a day in this guy's life. This was the guy who I played earlier in the episode. Okay, so this is on Tara Keeney's account. So she has an account, Tara Keeney on Instagram, where she walks with founders and she gets their wisdom. And it's a great idea for an account. And she didn't say anything crazy. She's interviewing, what's this guy's name? Ryan Serhant. I guess people who watch reality shows, I think, know who this guy is. So he's a real estate guy. And as you hear this, what what he was saying and just her reaction, I just want you to imagine a universe in which I ran into this guy and asked him for his life tips for handling anxiety. I just want you to imagine someone saying this to me. It would actually be worth starting an interview podcast just to try to get someone to say this to me so that I could record my reaction. So let's listen to this gem again.
Do something called like the calendar trick. So like if you think about like if something bad happens to you right now,
Okay.
in 30 days from today, you've either fixed it, you did something better, or you just don't care anymore because time heals all wounds. And so what I'll do is if something...
Yeah, there you, I mean, yeah, it's just, that's how my life has gone, that my problems only last for 29 days. And then they poof, it's like fairy dust, like sprinkles, it's gone. It's just completely gone. And what a blessed life, though. I mean, I guess like I'm happy that someone has lived that life. It has gotten to be the age of a grown man and is like, yeah, I stand by this. None of my problems have lasted more than 30 days. That's actually incredible. And what a blessing. I'm on a different life track. I'm on the life track for God's strongest soldiers. I'm on the lessons of detachment and humility and redemptive suffering life track. So I watched that in a St. Jude waiting room, and I was like, man, some of these influencers, they are living in a different galaxy than some of us are. It's honestly incredible. So I will not tell you that you just, actually, wait. Okay. What he said next is he said that what he does, Caitlin, you can try this with your problems. As a single mother, just see if this works. So he says, when something bad happens, he writes down how he feels. And then in a calendar note, and then he puts that on the calendar for 30 days out. And then it's great because when that time comes around, he looks back at whatever that problem was, and he's like, that's great. It doesn't even matter anymore. That wasn't a real problem.
Do you know how many reminders I would have on my calendar every single day? Like,
I'd break my phone. I'd have a terabyte of data. It would be like hundreds of gigs of me just write, how do I feel about the bad thing that happened? And then like naming names. And then it would just like make me mad again when it comes up. I'd be like, I do hate that person. I totally forgotten. That's crazy. Yeah. I mean, that advice doesn't work for me on so many different levels, on like 5 different levels. That advice does not work for me. The main one being, I don't have problems that go away in 30 days. Like, what are you talking about? It makes me want to start an interview podcast so that people would just say it to my face. Like, I just want to have a dialogue. I just want to have a dialogue for people who, because this guy's like 1 million followers and he's giving people this advice. Why don't I have 1 million followers? Okay. So anyway, I think what we need to do in those moments in the middle of the night where you worry, like what if this bad thing, what if the diagnosis is the worst thing? What if the diagnosis is, not what we want or whatever? Like, what if you've heard rumors that your company might have layoffs and you don't know if you'll be impacted and you're lying awake at night in the middle of the night? What if it's me? You've got a family to support or whatever. It's funny. It's very easy for me to come up with catastrophic scenarios. I could go on. I could go on. Your life is like something out of a country music thing. You're worried your marriage is falling apart and like, it's true. So what if that's what keeps you up at night, is that you think, but I mean, it could happen. I could be the one in the layoffs, and that problem's not going away in 30 days if I've got, kids to support, health insurance, things like that, and I end up out of a job. That's not a problem that when it pops up on my calendar 30 days from now, like, you have no money and no health insurance, that I'll be like, remember when I was stressed about that? That's funny. No, it doesn't matter now. That's not going to work. So here's what I have been doing, because our current situation has shattered all of my previous coping mechanisms, because I did used to do a little more of saying, well, probably not. It probably wouldn't be, the bad thing. I'll tell you what we're going through right now. It gives you a different relationship to hypochondria. I will say that, because it's like every now and then, I'm under a lot of stress. So I'll get, I had some intestinal pain and it lasted a couple days and it felt sort of weird. And in the past I'd be like, well, it's not like it's cancer. We don't say that anymore in this house. And I'm like, what if it's some horrible, what if it is? What if it's a terrible, terrible thing? Or like Joe had a minor health thing come up. In the past, I'd be like, sure, it's nothing. And I'm like, but what if it's not? What if it's like the absolute worst case scenario? What if it's that? And I can no longer say it's probably not. That never again in my life will I ever be able to say that and mean it on any level. Like, it's probably not the bad thing. So here's what I've been doing, and I hope maybe it's helpful to some of you guys. With the first thing I ask myself, like when I was imagining, this, like I had a little pain, like, what if it's the worst possible type of cancer? So the first thing I do is I just ask myself, is there any action I could take that would mitigate against the worst case scenario? So for example, or let's say I used the example earlier of like you worry, what if my kid got kidnapped? I actually think it's not enough to just say, well, that probably won't happen. I think it's good to take a second and say, okay, are there, maybe I should start telling my kids that before they go out, they should, I don't know, have bring a samurai sword with them or something. I don't know, you might want to think, well, maybe there's something we could do. Like I could start having my kids carry mace, or I don't know, whatever. The point is, actually think, is there something I could do that would make it either less likely that the worst case scenario would play out, or that would help us deal with it if it did come to that? And so when I have random aches and pains, and again, can no longer think, I'm sure that's not cancer. The first thing I think is, okay, if this continues, I will get it checked out. I will. I'm not going to blow this off. If we have multiple days of this, I will go ahead and get it checked out. As I also said in a previous episode, everyone's like, don't Google it because it'll tell you it's some horrible thing. Look, if I have some sort of pain or something now and I get it checked out and they say it's fine and it doesn't go away, I'm going to find out what the worst case scenario is, figure out how you test for that, and get that test. Because the good news is that even with worst case scenario health stuff, science has come so far that with the vast majority of even bad diagnoses, there's a lot they can do, especially if you catch it on the earlier side. So anyway, that's the first thing I do, is just, I try not to fear the anxiety, if that makes sense. Let me explain what I mean by that. We all know that we shouldn't be lying awake at night thinking of terrible things. So you can actually get worked up about that. You're like, oh, no, I'm upset that I might lose my job, but I shouldn't be upset about that. I should be relaxing. And I just sort of let it be there. Okay, all right, this is there. And then, like if I had a corporate job and I was worried about losing it, I think, okay, is there anything I can do to mitigate this. I could send my boss an edible arrangements. I could, I don't know, like take him to Disney World, whatever. Is there anything I could do to prevent the potential worst case scenario, or to just think like maybe I should double check my savings, see where we are on that. All right. So that's the action part of it. And then I try to remember, because this is one of the biggest things I've learned in our situation now, I try to remember that even in the hardest moments, God is always with you. And I would say that especially in the hardest moments, God will give you gifts and signal graces. And I would suggest that the harder the moment, the more of those you're going to see. Which, again, does not mean that God swoops in and makes everything perfect, but you will just have moments where you say, wow, that's a wild, coincidence, quote unquote. That's a crazy God thing that just happened, that just lets you know that he is there and he is guiding you and he is with you. And a lot of those things will happen, especially when you're in the middle of a very tough time. And we certainly had that happen with this cancer situation. There are just so many stories I could tell of wild God moments that just I'd almost never had moments like that where it's just so clearly God working to open a door for you or to just let you know that he's with you and he's there. So, I've said before, there's that old saying, and it's such a cliche. It goes in one ear, out the other, that God gives grace for the situation, not the imagination. But it's really true. And that's what I try to remind myself. And I say, so when I'm thinking about, like the other night, when I was like, I have this pain, what if it's cancer? Okay, first thing I did, like I said, all right, I'll just make a mental note. I will get it checked out if it continues. And by the way, it's fine, it didn't continue, but that's what I was thinking at the time. That's fine, I'll have it checked out. And then the phrase I kept saying that did reduce my anxiety is I said, okay, and if it were to be that kind of worst case scenario, God will be with us in that too. And I just kept saying, and I say that all the time when I'm worrying about worst case scenarios, like, okay, first of all, probably not. Probably it won't happen, but if it did, God will be with us in that too. God will be with us in that too. And there will be so many moments of just grace and crazy coincidences, or God incidences, as my aunt would say. There will be so many God incidences, moments, and graces, and just signs and reminders from God that he's with us that I can't predict. It's always easier for our imaginations to really flesh out in detail what the bad things would be like, but we don't imagine. Like if you're imagining sitting in your boss's office and getting the news that your job is gone, that's very easy to imagine. But when you're spiraling on that vision in the middle of the night, you don't imagine right as you walk out the door, you get a call from an old friend who has some sort of great wisdom for you, and you haven't talked to this person in 10 years. It's like you don't imagine those moments. You only imagine the bad things. So that's what I've been telling myself when I end up in anxiety spirals. I just say, all right, well, probably won't happen, but if it does, God will be with us in that too. It probably won't happen, but if it does, God will be with us in that too. It probably won't happen, but if it does, God will be with us in that too. And that's what I say. Sometimes I say that 20 times a night if I'm in a pretty bad anxiety spiral. So I hope that helps. Check out the Patreon live that we did with Leanne last week. It's wonderful. You get instant access as soon as you go to patreon.com/thisisjen and sign up. And we will be back in Austin next week. We'll be back in the home studio. Always delighted to have you with us. And I will see you next week here on the Jen Fulwiler Show.